Thank you, Bianca, and thank you everybody for showing up today, and good morning. I'm Karen Klein, I work with ICS, and about a month ago, Bianca and I tried to come up with a topic for today's session that would be of use to you. And as with everything in 2020, it's kind of hard to do forecasting. But at that time, we thought a month from now, we might be entering into the heating season. What are the challenges from transitioning into that? But of course, we overshot that. I think we've been in the heating season for a little bit already, but it's a good thing that we didn't focus on just the mechanical systems, because really what we are here to talk about today is the overall context of healthy buildings, and how what we've been going through this fall with the pandemic has really brought to light some of the principles of healthy buildings. And maybe it's just, hopefully we're in the right mindset. We had a hard time predicting what might be of use to you today, like I said, but we would like to give you an opportunity to kind of bring your head up from the crisis and kind of take a look around at the landscape and see what lessons we've learned, what are the next steps, how is this going to play into what's going on in our school operating budgets in the future, and just kind of get some context to what's going on. So here's some of the questions we anticipated you having at this time. Basically, how clean is safe is your environment? I bet these are questions you get on a daily basis, or that you're asking yourself or your employees. The whole community is very focused on how clean and safe your buildings are at this point. So that's one of the questions we're going to try to help you answer today with some of these topics. Are your students, parents, and staff comfortable? So basically, are your mechanical systems operating in a way that's optimized for comfort? And how quickly can we make changes? I mean, that's making adaptability a part of your program and your is a top priority, as we all know at this point. So, excuse me, just to take a step back, who is ICS and Obernoll? I'm hoping most of you already have a concept or have worked with us in the past. But between our two companies, we are sister companies. We do the full suite of services for facility planning, management, and operations. Anywhere from facility capital improvement planning, we can take you through that process. We can also help with commissioning, recommissioning, and design. And because of that full suite of services, we felt like it was an important step to make a connection with the cooperatives across the state. And that's my role with the company at this point, as I work with the regional service cooperatives to offer this type of service. In fact, like today, this is part of our partnership. We want to make sure that we are able to provide the expertise that will buttress your work and give you more confidence with your planning efforts. So I specifically work with the Metro XU, and then South, Southwest, South Central, Southeast, and I get into Lakes Country and Resource. But there are also, as you see on the map, we have dedicated staff that work in each of those regions to do project management and development and planning. So I'm going to pass it over to, we've got four incredibly talented people here today to talk about these concepts. So I'll hand it over to Pat Overham.
Hi guys, again, Pat Overham, one of the partners here at ICS. I see a lot of familiar faces and names, so good to connect with you guys. For those of you who don't know, my background's actually in mechanical engineering, and I've been around the K-12 market here in Minnesota for about 20 years, helping districts with all sorts of facilities related planning and project work and consulting. So glad to be part of it this morning.
Yay, good morning. I'm Stephanie Buckley, and my background is I'm an architect, worked a lot with planning and project development, and have a lot of experience in facilities project management too. And I'm happy to be here talking with you all.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Mark Bradby here with Obernoll. And I am never going to live up to that kind introduction that Bianca gave me. I've been working in the mechanical engineering field in the construction industry for the last 20 years. And yeah, the fact that I worked at Hennepin County means I think I see buildings as an asset, and I understand people sitting on that side of the table, what you're looking for. One of the big reasons I joined Obernell recently is this core value that, you know, we care. And I think caring about our customers, caring about the comfort of the people who use our facilities is kind of a paramount value. And hopefully you see that through this presentation.
Hi, my name is Kaiko Leach, and I am a mechanical and electrical engineer. And like Bianca said, I'm one of those super lucky people who gets to work with Mark. I joined Obernell a little bit over a year ago. Before that, I owned my own engineering company, and we got very busy. Plus, with my variety of background, I wanted to help a bigger company, and Obernell was the one that I chose. I have done over 30 colleges and also over probably 50 or 60 K through 12 projects. I have been helping schools renovate older buildings as well as building new. I am very lucky to be in this group today, and thanks for including me.
So we wanted to bring some focus to this conversation about healthy buildings. Originally, we were saying, you know, it's dealing with the pandemic, but of course, we have an opportunity to rethink how we design, build, and maintain buildings, and especially educational institutions here. And we're entering into a new normal where this isn't the last pandemic we're going to see, and indoor air quality, healthy buildings, this isn't going to be something that we get through this in 6 months or 9 months and then it goes away. I was rereading some emails from March where people were talking about maybe the stay-at-home order would be 3 weeks, and here we are 8 months later with the pandemic still in full swing. So this is we see this as an opportunity to evaluate the health of our buildings and plan for improvements, not just in the immediate future, but on a longer term and on a holistic scale. It's important to see the building as a whole and to ensure that changes we make during this pandemic can be sustained after the pandemic. Therefore, we recommend incorporating some of these things we're talking about into capital planning and ongoing maintenance programs. So really institutionalize the things we're talking about here. Pat, did you?
Yeah, just to add to that, I think Mark's absolutely right. There's, you know, whether we like it or not, there's kind of a newfound focus and attention being paid to facilities and healthy environments, right? And why not take this opportunity to capitalize that on, you know, a bit? We've got all sorts of things happening. We're in transition. We've got the pandemic. We've got a lot of moving parts, a lot of people throwing different solutions and widgets and things at us. And I guess what we want to relay through the conversation today is let's take this opportunity to take a deep breath and make sure anything we're implementing or anything we're considering fits within the larger framework of where you're headed holistically, right? It's easy to try to plug a hole in a boat with your finger, right? But once you do that 9 or 10 times, you can't do anything else. And so is there a way to make sure and ensure that anything we're doing and anywhere we're putting our resources is viable and long term?
Yeah. We've broken the presentation up into 4 sections. Health and safety, which really focuses on indoor air quality, occupant comfort, space planning, and facility optimization. And really, the 4 people that from ICS and Obernell are going to be dealing with individual portions, but I think what we want to take away from this slide is this isn't just a single project or a single facet of a healthy building. We want to keep the whole building in view. Kaiko.
Yes. So the first topic is health and safety. And indoor air quality receives renewed attention during an airborne pandemic. So until now, from my experience, we're really into meeting the code and how can we make the building most energy efficient. So that's what we were focusing on until recently. But now, now this pandemic is going on, we have to think about maybe bringing more outside air into the building. And in order to do that, we're going to have to heat and cool that air, especially in our environment in Minnesota. That's not the cheapest thing to do. So that balance became very important. We can't just blindly reduce the outside air intake so that we don't have to cool and heat that air so much. So we were forced to become more creative to make that balance correctly so that we can provide you with the healthy and safe environment, but also energy efficient.
So one of the things as mechanical engineers, Kaiko and I, we wanted to talk about kind of a hierarchy of guidelines. Maybe rules is too strong of a word, but we wanted to go through some specific steps that you can take to improve the indoor air quality. We think that all of these steps, if followed correctly, again, are not just relevant for the pandemic. They're relevant going forward after the pandemic is completed. And so our rules, in kind of order of importance, we feel that outdoor air is better than recirculated air. More airflow is better than less airflow. Dedicated air to a space is better than sharing or combining air. And treated air is better than untreated air. Now, there are going to be caveats to each rule. They're not to be applied blindly. But as we go through, hopefully, you'll understand why we ordered them in this way. And again, we welcome questions. Please do share questions with Bianca. We hope to have 15 or 20 minutes at the end to respond to your questions. And you can type those in the chats. So
the first topic is AIQ rule. One is outdoor air. So we, with this pandemic especially, we tend to jump into expensive solutions, a new technology. How can we kill this germ in air handling unit, or how can we kill these germs in a room? So there are a lot of technology going on, and sometimes they're costly, and sometimes they sound really good, but they need a lot of maintenance. So we want to go back to the basic idea first with what you have already, maybe, and think about what we can do with that to make it better. Then maybe add that technology afterwards. So we can, first thing we want to think about is how do we bring more outside air? And what is your current system doing, or how the machine is working? For example, the first topic here, do outside air and return air damper actually modulate? So I have this experience. I live in Mankato and I rotate between Rochester, Minneapolis, Mankato offices. We have this 5-story building in Mankato that I helped design probably 10 years ago. It's a 5-story former county building turned into adult fitness center for older adults to provide them a nice exercising space and a place to mingle together. And one day I got a call from them, just a panic call. The whole building is so humid and the floor has like half an inch of water on it. And it was a little bit exaggerated, but it was very wet and slippery. And that becomes a liability issue. So the director was panicking. I ran over there and see what's going on. And the way we designed this system was using the existing built up air handling unit, and we modified components and added new coils, and we thought it was working great. But one thing we didn't really check well was how the damper was modulating with old actuators and old components. So the outside air damper was stuck open completely, 100%. And this was very hot, humid day, and bringing outside air 100%, we didn't have any capacity in the cooling or enough capacity in cooling coil to dehumidify that air. So the system couldn't keep up, and the inside got really wet and damp. So something like this, just a little bit of more work and being aware of what's going on to be able to fix those things when we are especially using existing equipment is really important to look into. How the air intake and relief is being mixed inside. The third bullet point here, does outdoor air mix completely with return air? Even inside of air, Mark and I were discussing this before. If you have those unit ventilators in the classroom, there's a little grill in one spot. Is air really mixing inside a classroom? Is the outside air you brought in, is that really mixing with inside air? Is it reaching all the students inside a classroom? Is it ending at the very first row, not really reaching the faraway desks? So there are a lot of things we can think of to make the space better air quality without adding more expensive components.
Yeah. The next rule we wanted to talk about is airflow. Airflow is key to diluting contaminants in a space. Contaminants build up in heavily populated spaces as the products of respiration, as people breathe. And so providing airflow is a key component of any indoor air quality plan. Are your fans, controls, and dampers working correctly? Do the controls really move the dampers in the way that you think they move them? Does each room have a unobstructed return air path? I was doing a facility assessment on a building recently where everything checked out. The air handlers were working correctly. Supply diffusers were correctly placed to circulate air. But a piece of furniture, a storage, a file cabinet had been placed in front of the return air grill. And then someone had taken some sheets of paper and stored them behind the cabinet. And so the return air grill for the room was completely obstructed. So yes, theoretically, there was the path for the air to enter the room, but if you don't have return air, you're not getting supply air either. Once the door is shut, the room is going to be kind of a dead zone. So again, coming back to Kaiko's comment about many of the solutions that we recommend are not the expensive ones. We need technology and we need expensive solutions, but many of our solutions are practical and low cost or no cost. Likewise, air distribution can leave dead zones in rooms and hallways. If your maintenance person is getting hot or cold calls during the heat of the summer or the dead of the winter, that's a good telltale that maybe you're not moving much air through an area, and that area should be examined for air movement. If you're not moving air, then you're not diluting contaminants, you're not dealing with the products of respiration the way we want to. Another big one, we've seen recommendations of increasing filtration. If you have MERV 8 filters, take it up to MERV 13 or even higher filters if they fit into the slots. Of course, if you increase your filtration and you increase your pressure drop, you can actually reduce the airflow that you're delivering from a system and take us back to rule 1. More airflow is better than less airflow, and more outdoor air is better than less outdoor air. So make sure that your fan is sized for the filters that you're putting into your system. And finally, one caution, every rule has exceptions. And one of the things we do not recommend is blowing air across people in a classroom or an auditorium or a gym. Higher velocity airflow can actually carry particles and droplets further than they would naturally travel. So for instance, if we have people spaced 6 feet apart and then we're blowing air across them at a higher velocity, you can actually transmit a pathogen or respiration product further than you would have done. So be careful about increasing velocity across people.
Okay, yes, rule 3 is a dedicated air. So we noticed that for the most buildings, about 75 to 90% of the air is recirculated. That means we are breathing the same air over and over again, and we try to dilute that with outside air. Again, that's kind of fight between the efficiency and bringing more fresh air to the building. Something to think about is also how are we using that the outside air we brought into the building efficiently? Is it being wasted? So sometimes some things are renovated over the years and not designed at the, when we design new buildings, we design as a whole. So we think about how the air flows and where it comes in and where it goes out. But when the building is being renovated over the years, maybe that original intention wasn't really conveyed over the years. And things were added in the wrong spot, maybe not a wrong spot, but not most ideal spot. So maybe your outside air is not really spreading all over, but being short-circuited. Is your outside air really close to return, or the exhaust air? Are they placed in a strategic location so we can bring that, use the outside air that we brought into the building efficiently and being used or breathed in by everybody, not one area of people. So all those things need to be considered. And if we decide to bring in, I'm getting a lot of now this year requests from owners, especially schools. Can we bring more outside air? Do we have an option of maybe once a week cleaning the entire classroom, just to replace the air in a couple hours when kids are all gone? But then we have to think about, I think Mark mentioned that before, do we have enough capacity in the coil to do that? Can we heat and cool and dehumidify that air? So if we can't, then we have to think about replacing the entire coil or air handling unit, and that's maybe not possible. So next topic, rule 3, that Mark talks about is maybe treating the air when we can't do that.
Right. So the final slide comes into the technology part, where we can make significant differences with air treatment devices. Again, the caveat to this one is beware of standalone fixes. Air treatment should be examined in harmony with the other rules. And I'm sure you're familiar with the different technologies that are being being brought to market during this time of pandemic. Increasing filtration. If you have the horsepower to push more static pressure through your air handler, then increased filtration can make a difference. Just make sure you're not reducing your airflow. UV treatment, putting ultraviolet bulbs at an air handler unit can be effective. It's been proven over, I think, a good period of time. It's important to understand when the bulb's service life is. Generally, when they're outputting 80 to 85% of their capacity, you should replace them. So make sure you have a schedule for replacing them. Then another treatment option at the point of use is upper room ultraviolet treatment, where there are lights that actually shine above, say, 7 or 8 feet in a room if the air is distributed from above. This is effective and ASHRAE approved. In-room HEPA filters or HEPA air cleaners can be effective, but do understand your air changes per hour. Sometimes if you let's say you had 25 students and you had a small HEPA air filter in the corner, maybe it takes a day to turn the air over in the room. That may not be as effective. And then finally, bipolar ionization, either at the air handling unit or in ducts, is another promising technology. We have seen some very compelling studies. ASHRAE has not yet taken a position on bipolar ionization, but we do believe that this is a promising area, and it's one that should be looked at further. I think if you're implementing bipolar ionization, make sure you're doing it with an engineer who understands your system, the whole of your system. Stephanie.
Well, just kind of in summary, you know, we've all been aware of the importance of indoor air quality for some time now. It's not new, but in the way we've brought it into focus during the pandemic, as my colleagues have discussed, if we can kind of keep it there going forward, a lot of really great benefits can come out of that. So just some points here: increased ventilation improves concentration and productivity. Measuring and trending ventilation systems will reduce other issues like sick building syndrome. We can face future cold and flu seasons and future airborne pandemics with more confidence, and improved indoor environmental comfort is a benefit. So we're going to kind of highlight that indoor comfort. The occupant comfort is one of our topics today. And this is a quote from Jonathan Pendorf. He's an architect with Perkins and Will, worked with a group out of Harvard on benefits of healthy buildings, did a whole study. It just highlights that healthy buildings have impacts such as reduced illness and absenteeism amongst workers, higher worker productivity, higher test scores among students, and greater workplace satisfaction. So we know it's a good thing. So just to kind of talk through what it means to provide occupant comfort, which is alluding to both mental and physical health, and just a kind of more positive experience for people in the buildings. So here are some tips and some categories there. So lighting and temperature, I think, is probably the thing that comes to mind most if you think of occupant comfort. If it's bright in my room and there's glare, is there a functional window treatment for me? If it's hot and stuffy, can I control that myself? So another category would be furnishings, thinking about providing a variety of furnishings that suit different shapes and sizes, and are comfortable depending on the task. I think another thing to mention during this time is cleanable furnishings. And in the context of occupant comfort, we think of mental comfort, mental wellness and well-being. Do I feel like I'm not sitting on some old upholstery that who knows what this is? Do I feel like things around me are clean? For learning spaces, provide flexible physical space options that can change throughout the day. And in this context of occupant comfort, it's kind of like, do I have the power to adapt and move and be agile? I'm feeling, for whatever reason, uncomfortable in the classroom, it's hot, and is there a breakout space nearby? Is there easy access to outdoor spaces that I can pop my class outside and we can do something out there? Paint color and floor patterns, when you think about mental wellness, are we selecting our aesthetics, our paint colors, our flooring patterns that promote well-being and happiness? Housekeeping products, this kind of ties back to, do I feel like I have power over the cleanliness of my space in context of pandemic and future needs? Cleaning products, I just need a broom. Is there something nearby? Do I know where the housekeeping closet is? And then security measures, obviously security is kind of a big topic, but I mean, when you think about mental wellness in a space, feeling like you have a secure building also contributes to occupant comfort. So another category we're highlighting is facility optimization, assessing your buildings to provide a roadmap for the future, which involves smart space planning, improving technology and operations, and recommissioning and continuous commissioning. So for space planning, there's a lot of really great things that can be covered here, but we've kind of highlighted a few here. Designing agile and flexible classrooms. We're already kind of seeing that. I think it's a big trend right now, providing movable walls, the ability to create 2 classrooms out of 1. I think it provides a lot of great multi-purpose use for spaces, and then also just another ways to use your space well during times like this. Utilizing cleanable surfaces. So I've spent a lot of time working in healthcare as well, and where cleanable surfaces and cleanliness of the space is just sometimes the biggest priority. And you can create really warm, vibrant, fun spaces that are completely cleanable. You can sanitize with the harshest ingredients. However, there's just a lot of great products out there now to make the space feel really good. Allowing outdoor classrooms or learning experiences. Again, either just physically setting them up outside or integrating into the curriculum, more outdoor time. Offering remote learning options, and this is especially true, I think, out of the secondary levels. We're seeing older kids are sometimes liking the ability to work remotely more. So not only does it reduce census in a building at any given moment and day, but it provides kind of some life flexibility for some of these students. Installing touch-free elements. We know about soap dispensers, hand towel dispensers, but what about if you kind of take that further? Like if you think about the playground design where everyone's touching the same bars, you know, and equipment all day, maybe it's a little bit less hands-on with some kind of thinking throughout. Maintaining plexiglass. Now we've got plexiglass everywhere, and that's good. That's what we need. Does it totally go away in the future, or do we keep it in kind of high contact, high transactional type of areas? And then when you think, you know, if you're creating a new addition or building, creating pod type environments so that kids are really staying localized and not traveling all over and intermingling with everyone in the school. Technology and operations, and I'll just comment quickly operationally. We know that a lot is going on with setting up operations, not only for the day-to-day classroom time, every event, every activity. There's a lot. There's, I mean, a myriad operational changes happening. So we're not really scratching the surface of that, just highlighting a couple here. Regarding technology, complete integration of technology throughout the facilities. I think, you know, just having it be seamless, whether you're at home, at school, you know, and if districts didn't have that before, a lot of them do now or are pretty darn close, much further along. Decentralized serving and dining areas could be an idea. Fully integrated infrastructure like HVAC, lighting, and acoustics, so it's just really easily controlled by building managers and able to adapt throughout the day. Integrated infrared scanning at entrances. If you think going forward to a more typical year, just being able to catch the strep, the flu, those fevers right at the door before they come into the building. Modified operational considerations like staggered dismissal and arrival times, and social distancing in hallways and playgrounds. And just one quick anecdote there. I asked my teacher sister-in-law if she sees any benefit, I mean, any positives that have come out of all these crazy changes that they're having to do every day. And she said, it's greatly, all this social distancing and structure has greatly reduced student conflict, just less fights, less issues, because everything is just much more organized and structured where kids can be. So perhaps there's a nugget to glean from there with some natural ways to help social distance and design.
And I would just add real quickly, if you look at facilities optimization as a whole, the message we're trying to convey here is that I would suspect 9 out of 10 of us think of facilities optimization, we think mechanical systems, right? That's where we go. We think control systems. Again, the theme here is to back ourselves out of that and look at things more holistically. Facilities optimization can be more about the health and wellness of the users and making sure spaces are configured and furnished to best accommodate the use, right? It's not just about tweaking mechanical systems, it's looking at optimizing every aspect of the facilities. So thanks.
Yeah, and you know, following on from what Pat Pat said, I put this cartoon in the top right-hand corner here just to illustrate the fact that sometimes the best solution is not the most expensive solution. You know, someone's computer is not working, and the tech support person says it could be that it's not plugged in, but that would be too easy. So, you know, sometimes, especially us engineers, look for the more complex solutions or the more complex problems, but in some cases, the computer just isn't plugged in. When we're making changes, when we're examining our buildings in the context of the pandemic, these are some kind of practical items that we want to look at. Now, whether this is a building operator looking at this by themselves, or whether you bring engineers in, looking for dead air spots, looking for systems that are working correctly. Are all your exhaust fans actually operating? You don't get the air changes in your building that an engineer designed if an exhaust fan, say, has lost a belt and it isn't operating right. Looking at your controls, looking at scripts that can flag problems. For instance, if you say that, if your air handler tells you that you're in heating mode and your heating valve is open, but your discharge air temperature is lower than would be expected, say it's below 65 degrees, perhaps you have a valve shut, you know, in your heating coil, or a control valve is malfunctioning. So looking for those control scripts that can flag issues early rather than when you've frozen a coil. And then, are your building operators trained? You know, we're being asked to do more with less, and the training of operators is key to a system working in the way that it was intended to work.
And I guess just to wrap it up here, and we've probably hit on a number of these along the way, but we'd really encourage and recommend that everyone approach any of your capital planning needs with that kind of holistic mindset, and try to avoid the tunnel vision and the blinders when it comes to making a decision. We definitely encourage you to look back at those 4 simple IAQ rules to, you know, just give any decisions related to IAQ improvements that quick litmus test. We feel that stakeholders and experts and whoever is needed should be involved in any major facility related decisions. We think there's strength in that. And finally, I guess we'd ask that you ask yourself as you're implementing things as to whether that improvement can be sustained after the pandemic. Are we doing something just knee-jerk as a way to plug a hole in the boat, or is this something that's sustainable and able to be considered a good and wise facility-related investment long-term? We've got social media covered, both from the ICS and the Obernoll side, and we'd love to get into any discussion or questions that folks have.